our guest in this first hour. She's a superwoman. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. She's already a member of the family, but you're going to get to know her better. Her name is Gisele Haralson. She is a writer, film producer, educator, activist, radio personality, CEO of Follow Dreams Productions, and the executive director of Child Development Institute. Wait, did I say she was an author there? Because that's not in it. Well, it does. You know what? I did share writer, but I will say author because she's going to talk with us about some of her works as well. So, family, without further ado, I invite you to the conversation with Gisele Haralson. Hey there, beautiful.
Hello, how are you doing, family?
That's right. That's right. Say hi to
There we
your
go.
family. It's a pleasure to have you here. You know
I'm
what? Well, I was getting ready to say I do this welcome, 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 and then I realized I look at the time, and the hour goes by so fast. I always want to jump right in because I want the family to know everything there is to know about you.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. And
Good.
thank you so much for this. When I saw love and life, I became so excited. Because you're right. One of the things that I have spent about probably the last 15 years doing is researching love and relationships. And
Hmm.
so my overall mission was my film and film production, but I'm like, oh my God, this whole ideal of love and life. And that is what led me to write my last book. I mean, we were going through such turbulent and trying times during our last administration that I
Mm.
wanted to write something that had everything to do with love. And I wrote my last book, which was The Risk and Rewards of Love. And so I'm just kind of jumping into that because the
Yeah.
title of the show, Love and Life, and if we could just give a little bit more love.
Wait, Giselle, the title alone, the risks and rewards of love. Is it
Yes,
worth it?
is it worth it? Is it worth it? For some people it is, and for some people it may not.
Mhm. So when you were writing that particular body of work, did you interview certain indivials, and or what?
Yes,
Tell us
that that
about it.
that's
Tell us
that,
about
yeah,
that process, please.
yeah, that process was all of my work. I published 3 books. All of my work is research based. um, I utilize other individuals, their experiences, their stories to guide my writing. And
Sure.
so I've done focus groups, I've done surveys and interviews with individuals. And so I take their stories, their journeys, and I allow it to guide
Mm.
my writing. And so, yeah. I am a storyteller uh, from my heart. And so I started out as an author, and
Mm.
I have led my way as a film producer and on in my documentary film, "Who Says You Can't: African American Women in Science." And so I wrote, directed, and produced that. So yeah, I'm just kind of all over the place.
No, well, I love it. Well, no, you know what? We're women, so we are multidimensional. That's what I like. We're
Very
multidimensional.
true. Very true.
So,
Very true.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, first, I dove right into it, but would you mind telling our family just a little bit about you, from where you come, all that good stuff?
Yeah. So I was actually born in Chicago.
Chi-town.
Chi-town, yeah. And but I graduated from a high school in Mississippi. My mother and my father were both natives of Mississippi. My father was from Lexington, Mississippi. My mother was from Liberty, Mississippi. And both of them, like so many did in that era and time, they migrated to the Midwest,
Mhm.
uh, North for better opportunities, right?
How about that?
And yeah, and so that's where I was born. My mother later, after living in Chicago for about 13 years, she came back to Liberty to care for my grandmother. And that's where I graduated and left Liberty and came
Mhm.
on to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and went on to Southern University, A&M.
Okay.
And this is my home now, Louisiana. Um, I'm not a
Louisiana.
Cajun girl. I'm not a
Yeah.
Cajun girl, but I am a Cajun girl.
Well, we love it. We love it. We love it. What do
Yeah.
they? A little good little mix of a few different
Yes.
things. We love it. We love it. So, okay, I want to get back to the books. I want to get back to that. Now, you said so quickly. You were talking about the Who Said You Can't. Now, can I call it a series? Is it a series of books or is
So
it a?
actually, it's a documentary film. It's a documentary film that is actually currently streaming on Amazon Prime and Tubi. So this is a featured documentary film, an hour and 12 minutes. Um, and the story behind this, let me just say this.
Yeah.
Yeah, the story behind this, I had a well, I host an event every year annually
Okay.
called a celebration of women, where I honor and recognize amazing women for their amazing accomplishments, right?
Mm,
And so I had an individual who contacted me because these individuals that I interview are normally people just within the community. And we have other individuals that recommend individuals, women, for me to
mhm.
honor and recognize. So I had a gentleman who was like, Gisele, there's this lady by the name of Dr. Alice Pendleton, and you really need to honor and recognize her for her work. And so I made the decision at the last minute to get her bio, read her bio, and it was absolutely incredible. And what was so touching about it was the fact that she had had a massive stroke, had
Oh,
came back from the massive stroke to go on to get her PhD and to work for NASA after
what?
the stroke, not being able to walk and not being able to talk. So she came back from that and went on to get her PhD and to go on to work for NASA. And so her story was so incredible. I really wanted to tell her story. I'd already began working on a romantic comedy,
Okay.
but it was just something about that was so inspiring. It was like it just gave me that sense of like, we complain about the least little things, right?
Mm-hmm. We do.
But for
We do.
someone to endure this and to come back in this way, it really just motivated me. And I wanted to tell her story. And so I left, went to Houston and Hempstead, where she lived at, which is right outside of Houston.
Okay.
And I began working with her on a documentary. And that's where the title came, Who Says You Can't?
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, what a story, though. What a story. I mean, and who better? Who better?
Exactly,
who,
exactly,
who
exactly.
says you can't? So I was reading. I look. I'm so stumped on that. Everything that you just said, I'm still digesting it. I'm
Yeah.
digesting it all. And I wanted to ask you about the films, but I'm still really stuck on her story. So I want to take a moment just to say hello to our family who is checking in. Eric shares hello. He shares he's watching Love and Life on YouTube. Oh, must be there's thunder and lightning. I'm not afraid of thunder and lightning. I hope you're he says, welcome, Gisele Haralson. Welcome. David is sharing his opinion because I was sharing about voting, and he shares, don't vote. He shares he doesn't care about the campaign. He respectfully disagrees with vote, vote, vote. And I understand. I overstand, quite naturally. He shares until either party wholeheartedly supports a Black agenda, economics, and education. Well, David, your decision to not vote is actually a decision to vote. But we'll talk about that a little later. Alfred is sharing his love and he's saying, hello, Gisele. Hi there, Alfred. Alfred Evans. Eric shares, welcome to the WURD platform, Gisele. You wear so many hats and you walk so many paths. You are truly blessed. I am so happy for you. Raphael is checking in. He's saying good evening. And Miss Lily, she shares, wow. What an incredible and resilient woman. I was with you, Miss Lily. I was so like I was dumbstruck just listening to this incredible and amazing woman. And Malcolm has a comment about David. Yes, yes, we have to vote blue. We do, we do. All right. Well, I think that's a conversation, family, that we need to have about voting. We're going to do that at another time. But we are going to talk with Gisele in this hour. And Gisele, I wanted to ask you about um, the documentaries. Now,
Mhm.
and I was asking earlier, is it a series or is it
It is actually a feature. And what happens is I have featured 8 African American women in this one documentary. Okay. It
uh,
is 8 African American women who are all in the area of science. So Dr. Pendleton is who inspired me
okay,
to do the documentary. But
okay,
then I had a chance encounter with a phenomenal woman who is a historian. I met her and she connected and asked me, she said, Gisele, would you be willing to tell the story of the first Black nurses that were hired at the Baton Rouge General Hospital, which is here in Baton Rouge, um, in the 1950s?
okay.
Um, and she was very adamant about that story. She had been, a champion for their stories, because her mother was one of the first Black nurses to be
Mm,
hired at the Baton Rouge General, her mother had passed on. There was only 3 nurses that was left, and these nurses were hired in the 1950s, right? And they were hired in the hospital when Black doctors could not even come into the hospital.
wow.
Okay. So
Wow.
if there was a Black doctor and his patient had to go into the hospital, he had to turn his patients over to the white doctors. So the face of the medical profession at that time, at that particular time, when
Mhm.
they were hired on, were only the Black nurses. And so there were 3 of them that were left, that's living, and they're actually still living. And I had an opportunity to sit down and to interview them and to hear their stories and tell their stories within this documentary. And so they were added onto it, um, um, even to the
Wow.
point where we were able to go back on the unit, the floor that they
Mm,
were on, which was the 4th floor, which is 4th South. And that unit has been closed off. But we went to the administrators of the Baton Rouge General Hospital to ask them if we could film there. And so it was just such an amazing, many of them were talking about they had not been there in 30, 40 years. And so that was so special to me that we
yeah,
were able to bring those nurses back to the same unit that they worked at all those years ago.
that sounds so emotional, like such an emotional experience. I want to pause right here for a commercial break. Actually, I don't, but we have to take a commercial break. So, family, I know you know this already, but I'm going to remind you that the phone lines are open and feel free to continue to comment on our socials. We are coming right back.
June is Black Music Month, and this year, the WUR